Mainly, my favorite, and I've said this every year, my favorite thing about this event is just getting everyone together. And everyone, I mean, it's from the CF team to families, the vendors, everybody. It's just a neat time and a lot less stress than a clinic visit, not as formal. And every year we're trying to improve how we are doing CF Day. And so this year we're trying to live stream, so anyone that's joining us virtually, I apologize if there's glitches, but what we know is that we have to reach out not only to the people that can't travel, have maybe infants at home and it makes it hard, but also our adult patients that we can't have join us in person for infection control, but we have a lot of, almost 50% of our patients right now are adults, and we need to provide education for all of the age groups. So I'm excited about that, and I'm also excited because I think we're getting other people involved in the CF Day, and one of our speakers today is an adult with CF, and I'm really excited about his presentation. So I hope this becomes, it's always kind of going through the evolution of changing and meeting needs. So a lot of you have been here before, but there are bathrooms straight back and then to the right, and feel free if you need to get up to take a break or walk around. We will have lunch at about noon-ish, depending on how long Dr. McCarthy talks. So if you start getting hungry, start glaring at him. And we are going to take a little longer lunch so you can have time with the vendors, but we have some, flexibility if we want to start a little earlier. And then at the end, we are still going to do a panel discussion. The way we're going to do it this year, though, is instead of us coming up with topics to share, is we want to have all of you participate, and anyone that's joined us virtually as well. So what you'll do is if you have questions or comments, and it's on your tables, and I'll see if I can find it on mine, is that you can either text or email questions or comments, and then we will either answer them as we go if they apply to the different speakers, or we'll also, any topics you have for the panel, we'll go over those. And the panel is going to have adults with CF and parents and some of the care teams. So anything you want to kind of hear some input on would be great. Let me see if I can pull this up. Text or email to kendra.darnell@providence.org, or you can also text to, and I think it's on there, 509-844-6810. And you can do that throughout the presentations. There are also index cards on your table, and you can write questions on the index cards, and we'll gather those and answer those as well. So we felt like that was a better way than people having to stand up. I know that can be a little awkward, so these can be anonymous, and we do want to answer questions, or if you have comments, share those comments. So I think I just want to do a shout out to our vendors. We have, and they can't probably hear me now, but we have a really, really supportive group of vendors that support the CF community, and so if we could just clap for them and maybe they'll hear. They help support events like this financially. They provide a lot of education from programs to actual, education materials, and probably of all the, diseases and different things that different companies participate in, I think CF probably has some of the most supportive. And instead of them being kind of the annoying drug reps that some places feel like, we actually feel like they're very much partners in things we do. And so we really appreciate their time. want to just say thank you to all the care team and providers and everyone that's participating with that. So it's fun to have everyone here and just adding to our day. So I do want to have Anna come up and talk about the CF Foundation and different things that are going on for that. Because we are very appreciative of the foundation for I always call them our mothership. We really kind of get not only funding, but guidance and support. And then, of course, when we start talking about research and things, then that's just where it's at. So if you want to come up and share.
Hello. So I'm Anna Lester. I think I've met most of you, because a few people. And I'm a development manager for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I work out of Seattle, but I'm lucky enough to get to work with the wonderful people of Great Strides Spokane. Is that better? So the foundation is really, thank you, Kendra, for calling this introduction. But so we're here to be a support for you guys, to be a driver for research and therapies. And I know that Rebecca will probably talk a lot about all of the exciting things that are happening, but we're really on the precipice of amazing, exciting things happening. So I'd love to talk to you all about that, but some things that are happening in Spokane is Great Strides on June 4th. It's a really fun way to get involved with the foundation, see other families, come out, bring your whole crew, walk. There's 450 people and counting at the walk, so it's a really great day, and I'd love to see everyone there, because I think I was telling someone that it's like a family reunion every year, so all the families come out, the care center's there, you guys are great for volunteering every year. But we have, so with the foundation, like I said, we're on the precipice, super exciting things happening, and because of the new resources that are at our disposal, we're creating new programs to help support mental health, just really support CF adults, and because that's kind of the way that things are moving, luckily, is that we really need to up our game in the CF adult world. We have Compass. I don't know if you guys saw the materials over there, so please let me know if you have any questions, but we're here to help you guys live happy, healthy lives and do what we can. So please take advantage of the resources. Come out to Great Strides, see everyone. Any questions about the foundation?
And one event that I do want to plug, and we have some information, is a Princess Petal Fest that is happening in August. And it is going to be a super fun event. This is the second year, correct? And so I know I'll be there dressed as a princess riding my bike, and I know my daughter will be there cheering me on as a princess, so I encourage all of you, whether you're a knight in shining armor or a princess, to come out and support Princess Petal Fest that will support cystic fibrosis. There's lots of other events going on in our community. We have an active community from Great Strides Committee, and then all the different things that go on, fundraising. And so if you're ever interested in learning more about what's going on in our area, contact me or Rebecca, who will be coming up next. And I hope we can figure out a way to just maybe make the Facebook CF Cure, Spoke Cure CF, maybe have that be a good way, even advertise this. I realized later that would have been really awesome. So so I'm going to have Rebecca Schroeder come up. She is going to talk about advocacy and lots of other stuff about the foundation with that.
How long can I talk?
I know, I have to put a limit on it.
5, 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Kendra. As she said, I'm Rebecca Schroeder. I serve as the National Advocacy Co-Chair for the Foundation, and I co-chair our Spokane Great Strides with Shannon. I also am on our Parent Family Advisory Board for our clinic that is at Sacred Heart, and I just kind of make our mission of curing CF what I do in whatever capacity I can. But today I'm here to talk about advocacy, and I have the CF Foundation logo tattooed on my body, so I agree that they're the mothership. I believe
wholeheartedly in the direction that they're taking us. I have an 8-year-old son with cystic fibrosis, Brady, who has been, I did a little math on this the other day. My baby's 104 months old now, and he has been taking Kalydeco for 51 months, so almost half of his life now. He's been able to take advantage of a breakthrough treatment that we would not have without advocates, that we would not have without fundraising and our Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So I am motivated and I am determined and I feel obligated to keep this ball rolling because I feel like I've seen with my own eyes what is possible and the potential of treating this disease. And I also attend the NACFC every year, our research conference, and I've seen the science. It is real, the progress is real, but in order to accomplish what we want to, we're going to have to help our system evolve a little bit, and that's what advocacy is about. The last thing that we want is some system barrier or a law that doesn't make sense slowing us down on our way to the cure. So we're really blazing some new trails here in terms of being able to treat a genetic disease with a small molecule, or even beyond that, some of the things that we're talking about now are being able to edit our DNA, to edit our messenger RNA, to really cure CF. And these are not things that we're talking about maybe someday off in the future. These are things that we are talking about right now at our scientific conferences. And I want to talk about just recently a national advocacy issue that came up. Because I'm the National Advocacy Chair, we do go to Capitol Hill and we work on policy issues, we work on legislation, we work with our organizations like the FDA, who recently may be familiar with the Vertex drugs. They make Kalydeco and Orkambi. They applied to the FDA with an expansion for the Kalydeco label to include 23 residual function mutations. And they applied mainly with lab data. And so this was kind of, traditionally, in order to deem a drug safe and effective, the FDA has required large-scale trials with hundreds or thousands of patients for a long term. And when we're talking about treating increasingly specific populations of an already rare disease, that is not going to be possible. So we're working with them on, this was kind of like a first shot. Will they accept lab data as a way to move forward and expand the label to these people? We know that the drug works for them right now, and they don't have it. I mean, imagine sitting in that position. This is why advocacy is important. We know that drug will benefit those people. We have to have it on the FDA label. So we applied with the data, and they rejected it. They denied it a couple of weeks ago. So this is not this is a pit stop along the way. We kind of anticipated that this might happen, but these are the kind of issues that are coming up all the time. Especially as we move forward with the development of our correctors and potentiators. So we're going to continue working with the FDA. We're going to get more data. We're going to ask them what they do need and what they will accept. We're going to blaze the trail not only for CF, but for other genetic diseases to come in and do the same thing as well. So that is what we do on a national level. And this year, for the first time, our chapter offices now are involved in our advocacy efforts. So if you're interested in doing something like going up to Capitol Hill, we take advocates every year. We take teen advocates in the summer. You can contact the chapter office. Anna, someone in Seattle, will field that question. I'm passing that one on to Anna, or to me, of course, and I'll pass some contact information around later as well. Then there are also advocacy issues. You're maybe thinking, I don't want to go to Capitol Hill, that doesn't sound like it's for me. We have issues at the state level as well. The state level issues are extremely important also. My son gets that Kalydeco every month, and with it is a bill that shows the retail price of that drug being over $30,000 a month. So or can be, is similarly priced. And we have seen access issues here in the United States, and still we're working on getting complete coverage of Orkambi in all 50 states. So before we had Kalydeco for Brady, all I could really conceptualize was up to that point in time when we got that drug in our hands. And the minute that moment passed, the very next thing that creeped into my mind was the anxiety and fear of how expensive and important that was, and that it was extremely important that we do everything that we can to maintain our access to that. So we are working on building advocacy teams in all of our 50 states to be able to work with their representatives at the state level and get those great new drugs included on the formulary, get them covered by state Medicaids, get them in the hands of patients where they need to be, because all this fundraising and everything that we do to get that is just meaningless if we don't have access. So there's something for you at the state level if that sounds like it's more for you. Locally, we have our wonderful parent-family advisory council at the hospital that Kendra leads up. I'm so thankful that she's taken the time to put together this group where we can come in. I encourage everyone to sign up to be a part of at least our email kind of loop. But it's our opportunity to advocate for our loved ones or yourself about your care, and to give your input about ways that we can make things better at the clinic. They care about doing a good job for us, and again, I just feel like it is a wonderful opportunity for us to be at the table, make clinic visits flow more smoothly, and with some of the support that we get from the foundation. And if you have an idea or something creative, maybe we can make it happen. So come join us at the Parent-Family Advisory Board. We just have quarterly actual meetings, and everything else we do kind of email. So there are opportunities there as well. And I know I've gone probably a lot longer than 5 minutes, but I just want to close with saying that I hope that a first step for everyone here today might be to visit the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's website and sign up for advocacy alerts. That basically just puts you in the system. If something comes up on a state or federal level, you'll just get an email about it. And a lot of the things that happen they require kind of swift action. It may only take you 30 seconds to send this email, but it will be important that it's done quickly if they're considering legislation. For example, last year we passed a piece of legislation called the Ensuring Access to Clinical Trials Bill that allows patients with rare diseases to be able to participate in clinical trials and receive a small amount of compensation, which we know is kind of standard practice. My son receives, I think, $25 for each clinical trial visit he gets. For some folks, that would have been enough money to put them out of their disability benefits. So this bill allows those patients that we desperately need. We have over 40 clinical trials that we plan to be rolling or starting in 2016. We desperately need every patient that can participate to participate, and in some cases it's the opportunity to access drugs years before they're available to the market. So this bill was passed. My co-chair in advocacy was able to start a clinical trial with one of the Vertex drugs just 2 weeks after the passage of this bill that she would not have been able to start otherwise. So it's just so vitally important. And we passed that bill because we had over 200 meetings on Capitol Hill about it, and we had thousands and thousands of emails. Emails are extremely important and can do things like help us push these really vital bills across the finish line. So, like I said, visit our cff.org. There's an advocacy tab. Sign up for the advocacy alerts. I brought my computer, or I can even help you do it on your smartphone right here today if you come visit me. So thank you so very much for your time. If I can answer any questions about our advisory panel at Sacred Heart, about Great Strides, about becoming a national or state advocate, come see me. And thank you so much to Kendra and the foundation.
Thank you very much. So we have the family advisory panel, patient family advisory panel, and we are working really hard, like I said, not only with our education, but for this to involve our adults as well. And so even though our last meeting didn't happen because of glitches, we are trying to do virtual meetings, and we have some new software that should make that. So if you're interested in being part of it, the actual panel itself, we do want some commitment because we want to be able to know who's on the panel, who's going to be participating, see me or Rebecca. But we also have an email work group that just helps give feedback. You know, I can do some surveys, I can find out topics you're interested in. And then for the advocacy, I will say, when you get those email alerts, it literally takes 2 seconds to respond, and often you get a response from your representative or whoever received that email thanking you for your time. So it is a very quick way, but it does make a difference. So right now I'm going to invite Brian Marceau to come up. He's an adult with CF down in the Lewiston area, but a Coeur d'Alene native, correct? I'm really excited that he agreed to do this because I think hearing from someone who is living a life with CF is vitally important. But he has some background and some experience that will shed some light on some airway clearance. So, Brian?
We're just checking basketball scores, don't worry about it.
I got the show here, right?
So as a small amount of throat clearing before I begin, you're going to see over the next 25, 30 minutes or so, a handful of statements that are actually objective claims about the nature of reality. And full disclosure, I work full-time. I didn't get a completed works cited page at the end that people could check out. But as a reference point, there's a relationship between the strength of the claim that I make up here and the strength of the peer-reviewed research associated with it. And that link is, if it's a strong claim, there's a lot of research to say that this is not an idea. This is stuff that people have decided is worth sinking money into and analyzing, and have found out that this is how it works in life at this point. Now that's out of the way. My name is Brian Marceau. Kendra asked me to, well, she invited me, thank you, to speak about airway clearance, and I was told I could take it in whatever direction I wanted. And the direction I'm choosing to go is what I call unknown unknowns, which is not a phrase I invented. It's typically associated with military jargon. But the premise is, there are, in any sort of endeavor that people work into, there are some things that we don't know about. It's not that we just don't know. It's that we have no idea that this is even an issue to attempt to account for. And I happen to think there are a lot of unknowns in relation to not just airway clearance, but breathing itself. So like I said, name's Brian. Quick background, I've earned my undergraduate and graduate degrees at the University of Idaho. I've taught yoga for 8 years. I have taught everyone from junior high kids speaking English as a second language, which I recommend to no one, to senior retirees who are just wanting to feel a little bit stronger, feel a little bit more flexible, vital. If you're in that gap, I have likely taught you. I've also taught special education in public schools for 6 years. I've taught every age group from 6th grade through 19, 20-year-olds who, in theory, should have graduated, but they did not particularly subscribe to that theory. In my free time, I'm a singer. I play guitar as well, and I'm the founder of Release LLC. It's my organization. I teach yoga and meditation workshops. Relative to what I talked about earlier, the unknown unknowns relating to breathing, I think what I call the dilemma of mindfulness is particularly instructive. The dilemma of mindfulness is, why on earth does every American not meditate using mindfulness meditation for 10 minutes a day? It might sound like a strong proposition that every single person should, but really, I do not understand. Why can everyone not find 10 minutes? Everyone sits almost cursed for a second. Everyone sits down, everyone sits for at least 10 minutes, everyone stands for at least 10 minutes a day, everyone lobs way more than 10 minutes out the window on Facebook, staring at advertisements, yelling at people while they're driving. Everyone does lots of these different things for 10 minutes, but the average American does not meditate for 10 minutes. And to see if we have a representative example, or a representative sample, if you are one of the few people who meditates daily, could you please raise your hand? So I'll put my hand up. We've got 4. That's likely a representative sample. Now the reason I'm curious about this, in part of my research, I decided to find the benefits of mindfulness. This was the easiest task I have ever taken part in my entire life. And if you walk through a handful really quickly, if you're a person who experiences stress, mindfulness helps you. If you're a person who experiences clinically significant levels of stress, mindfulness helps you. If you're a person who has ever been depressed, mindfulness helps you. If you are currently depressed, mindfulness helps you. If you are a person afflicted with ADHD, mindfulness helps you focus better. If you are a person who is not afflicted with ADHD, but would like to focus better and perform better, mindfulness helps you. If you are an athlete, a musician, a teacher, military personnel, mindfulness helps you focus on your tasks better. If you are married, or if you're a person who thinks being married right now is a worthwhile endeavor, mindfulness helps you communicate better. Mindfulness helps you sleep better. Mindfulness makes you less likely to be depressed. Mindfulness helps people begin what's called divergent thinking, which is typically associated with the beginning of the creative process. I don't mean creative as in like, hey, I want to write a book or I want to sing a song, as in I have to put these 2 different ideas together and make them work. That's divergent thinking. Mindfulness makes you better at that. These are not my opinions. These are objective, peer-reviewed research findings. Mindfulness does all these things. And you might think, okay, well, it has all these benefits. There have to be some costs. There are none. The costs are, if you have an uncomfortable chair, you will be uncomfortable. If you are mindful, if you are engaging in meditation while walking and your shoes are uncomfortable, your feet will be uncomfortable. Otherwise, there are effectively no drawbacks to meditating, but a gigantic amount of gains available. And it's not even something that people have to spend a lot of time on. For some of these symptoms, or some of the benefits listed, people experience, objectively, relative to research, instantaneous gains. For some of them, you might have to sink in a little bit of time, like 11 hours. But that's not contiguous 11 hours. That means 11 hours out of your entire life. So for me, I'm 29, that's significantly less than 1% of my entire life to have significant benefits. But, despite of all these benefits, there's a gigantic amount of people who don't meditate. So, why? I mean, there have to be some sort of entry, some barriers to entry, some meaningful ones. Forgive me. one thought is, America is a majority Christian nation, so maybe there's some difficulty in squaring mindfulness meditation with Christianity, as mindfulness meditation is actually from a Buddhist tradition called Vipassana. However, that's actually a non-issue for most people because mindfulness meditation specifically, is incredibly easy to completely extract from the Buddhist tradition. It's actually harder to practice it as part of the tradition. So the religious barrier really shouldn't be much of a problem. Now, maybe there's a cost barrier, but I happen to think that's a non-issue too. I have taught in only low-income schools. The percentage of people that I work with, special needs children, who are less likely to be given free rein to technology, that have smartphones, is roughly 90%. The people who don't have smartphones are the people who have to have one-on-one supervision all day. Otherwise, if you're a kid in public school, you likely have a nice phone. And if you're a kid in a public school, you likely have a parent, which means even if you only had one device in the entire family, you have internet access. And if you have internet access, you have countless free meditations that can be downloaded, courses that can be downloaded, or if you're one of those outrageous people who says, hey, I don't want to download a bunch of free stuff that might not have enough direction for me, if you can find $80 for an entire year, you can download a platform called Headspace that has a curriculum to follow. The curriculum is, hey, spend 10 minutes. That focuses on depression, focus, creativity. If you're pregnant, it actually focuses on how to experience pregnancy better. You can focus on relationships, acceptance, self-esteem. Really, any general category that people associate with improving their lives, you can focus on it. $80. Or what some people call not even enough money to go to one pro football game by yourself. So really, not that much money for the average person. But people don't. Which is why I don't think either of those happen to be religious part or the cost part. I don't think those are the actual barrier. The barrier is that the people that you guys run into, the ones who are most likely to, let's say, flip you off and scream at you and maybe you look like they'll pull out a gun, if you drive out of the wrong end of a parking lot, those people objectively rate themselves as the most mindful people on the planet. So in short, it's not that they don't even know that they have a problem. They think there is no problem to have and that they've already mastered it in the first place. There are many different methods of self-assessment to gauge mindfulness. That's what the peer-reviewed research uses. And like any self-assessment tool, it's not 100% accurate, but the research shows if you are incredibly mindful, you realize, hey, I actually have some points that I'm not that mindful during the day. I have some points where I'm on autopilot and I lose my focus. I don't rate myself that high. If you're incredibly unmindful, you don't even think there's a problem. And the premise that someone could have a problem with that sounds preposterous. And the link I have there to breathing, airway clearance, if you want to call it that, is, in my life, I have taken part in about 5 or 6 different sports, from everything from like Little League level to varsity level to intramural level. I've been to multiple CF clinics, seen multiple doctors, multiple specialists, not just respiratory specialists, like most people. I've seen doctors for other reasons. I have worked in different types of organizations. I've read different types of books relating to self-help, whatever you want to call it. No one, and this is not hyperbole, I really mean almost no one on the planet believes that breathing is a skill worth teaching. It is assumed that if you are told to breathe, you just know how to do it. So the idea that, hey, maybe there's some people who are better at breathing, and maybe these people have something they can share with us. For the average person, it doesn't even cross their mind, and I'm not just talking about cystic fibrosis specific. I'm talking about everyone. The idea that you would breathe and think, you know what, I need to practice this a little bit every single day. If I decided the exact same survey and said, hey everyone, if you have decided breathing is a skill that you need to practice every day, raise your hand. Thank you. We have one. I would have no problem betting my entire next year's salary, which is not that much as a teacher, on the proposition that no one actually really does it. Fortunately, there are some entry points. There are some people who aren't necessarily connected with the cystic fibrosis or the cough or the asthma or any other kind of respiratory condition that I can't think of because that's not my job. There are people who are not connected to that community who do think that breathing is a skill worth teaching. And they do think if you practice breathing, you'll get better. And then, oddly enough, they're the people who have the science on their side. Now, the first point that was the first entry point for me is yoga. And I've heard people use the term yoga breathing. I threw up a definition on the board for what I think people typically think of when they hear yoga breathing, because yoga, unfortunately, has a decent amount of mysticism attached to it. That is a barrier to entry for a lot of people, and that mysticism doesn't need to be there. There's research done by non-mystical universities, like real places, that have tried to verify whether the claims within yoga are correct. And the ones I'm going to talk about have been validated. So when I hear yoga breathing, the first thing I think of is, as I threw up on the board, a meaningless term used by non-yoga practitioners to describe what appear to be the mystical qualities associated with very specific contortions of the hyperflexible. Meaning if you're not hyperflexible, you can't do it. Now, of course, that's not how it works. You don't need to have the range of motion of a gymnast, or a 9-year-old female gymnast, to benefit from the breathing instruction that comes within yoga. Now, if we're going to use a meaningful term, when people in yoga talk about breathing, there are two separate things they mean. The first one, it's called pranayama, and it's the practice of breath control. Root term prana means breath, ayama means control, therefore we have breath control. It's typically associated with slowing the inhale, as well as slowing the exhale. There's a handful of different practices of pranayama that do have a little bit of a forceful exhale. The reason I'm specifying that is if you're trying to clear your airway, breathing softly doesn't do that much. But some of it do exist. Now, we can all actually practice pranayama. It'll take 4 seconds. Everyone, if you will hold your hand up, back your hand facing me, keep your thumb out. You're going to take your index and middle finger, bring them in. You're going to hold this position. You're going to take your ring finger, close the right nostril, and now breathe in through the left. You'll then take your hand, close the other nostril, and exhale through the other nostril. Now, as you might have noticed, is just the rhythm of your breath happens slow. That's breath control. Now, what I just showed you, I think, is it would be very hard for it to be less relevant relating to airway clearance. But that's a potential barrier within pranayama. It's not just that it's not specific, CF specific or asthma specific. It's that it just teaches